All right. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks all for being here. I want to begin by recognizing everybody that has joined us here today, but I want to spend a particular quick minute just thanking Congressman Shamari Figures for coming out into this cold weather all the way from Alabama. He's been complaining about 40-something degrees. I'm from Buffalo. We got Michigan and others represented that aren't afraid of the cold. You know, it's a little warmer. It's a little warmer in Hawaii too, I think. But this is a little Buffalo weather. So really, thanks all for being here. Co-leading the LEAP Act with me here today, we have Representative Jill Takuda and Representative Shamari Figures. We're also joined by the chair of the House Democratic Policy and Communications Committee, Representative Debbie Dingell, and I believe Representative Rashida Tlaib will be joining us here as well. Together here with us, we have numerous advocates from the healthcare and education sectors. Abe Saffer, representing the American Occupational Therapy Association. Amy Pachalk, a proud New York State resident representing the American Federation of Teachers and the New York State Public Employees Federation, PEF. Dina Kastner and Letitia Clayton, representing the National Association of Social Workers. Matt Hopper, representing the Council on Social Work Education. Brian Banks and Jada Jolly, representing the National Board for Certified Counselors and Affiliates. Lizette Olmos Godfrey and Tamara Tellis, representing the National Hispanic Health Foundation. And Tim Leshin, representing the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health. I want to thank each of them for their partnership and for their collaborative work with my office and my colleagues. We're here to announce the introduction of the Loan Equity for Advanced Professionals Act, the LEAP Act, which restores fairness and financial parity for all advanced degree students and prevents the Department of Education from enforcing a misguided and harmful policy that congressional Republicans snuck into the big ugly bill. Under the reckless provision passed in H.R. 1, students seeking to build careers as nurses, occupational therapists, physical therapists, mental health professionals, social workers, speech language pathologists, and public health professionals have seen the federal loan amount they can take out decimated. The fallout won't stop with healthcare workers. Teachers, architects, accountants, engineers, and countless other professionals have also been stripped of access to dependable, flexible federal student loans, leaving many with no choice but to turn to predatory private lenders and to take on even more debt in a system that's already too expensive. If this policy is not reversed, fewer people will be able to pursue the education needed to work in healthcare, and our communities across the country will lose access to timely, affordable, quality care. The LEAP Act fixes this. It ensures that graduate and professional students have equal access to student loans, because access to education should not depend on wealth or privilege. When we block access to education, we shrink our care economy. We stifle job growth. We drive up healthcare costs, and we leave communities waiting longer for care or going without it entirely. Republicans in Washington want aspiring healthcare professionals to mortgage their futures before they even treat their first patients. Their policy deters young Americans from answering the call to serve their communities and care for others. This is a callous assault on the very people who hold this nation together, every prospective student who dreams of helping people. At a time when our healthcare system is already under severe strain, the Trump administration and congressional Republicans are undermining the very workforce the system needs to survive. Under the Republican healthcare crisis, our hospitals are short-staffed, clinics are shutting their doors, and rural communities are being left without sufficient services. Nurses are exhausted, therapists are overwhelmed, and experienced providers are leaving the field faster than new ones can step in. The result is fewer nurses at patients' bedsides, fewer therapists supporting recovery, fewer specialists serving rural areas, and fewer mental health professionals when the demand has never been higher. For patients, that translates into longer wait times at hospitals, and hospitals themselves being forced to operate with dangerously thin staffing levels. It means our communities will continue to grow sicker, all because this Congress, under Republican leadership, decided that access to advanced healthcare education is a privilege for the few rather than a pathway to service for all. I know what these loans mean because I've lived it. When I went to school to become an occupational therapist, I filled out those loan forms, just like millions of students have. I needed those loans to cover tuition, books, and other expenses. The weight of that debt followed me for years, but I did it because I wanted to help people. With the policy that congressional Republicans forced through in the big ugly bill, they've slammed the door shut for the next generation of healers, helpers, and public servants. That doesn't just hurt students, it hurts patients, families, practitioners, and entire communities across our country. In the richest country in the world, we should not be telling the people who hold our healthcare system together and our communities together that opportunity is reserved for the few. As the only occupational therapist in Congress, I will not stand by while Trump and congressional Republicans sabotage the very workforce that keeps our nation alive. And I'm proud to stand with my Democratic colleagues and the entire Democratic caucus in an effort to fix this problem that congressional Republicans have created. I'd like to especially thank Representatives Figures and Takuda for co-leading this legislation with us. We've spent a year watching Republicans dismantle our healthcare system piece by piece, and it continues today. Let's send a message to those who are aspiring in the healthcare field. Your career matters. What you do for our society is valued, and we have your back. Let's pass the LEAP Act. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Representative Jill Takuda. Thank you. Thank you.
Aloha, everyone, and a big mahalo to my colleagues who are leading on this issue, to all the endorsing organizations here joining us today. I want to be very clear because language matters and labels matter. To suggest that nurses, teachers, occupational and physical therapists, social workers, and others who dedicate their lives to caring for people are somehow not in a professional field is not just wrong, it's insulting. It's a slap in the face to the people who show up every day for our communities, keeping them healthy, educated, and safe. These are professionals. There's nothing to debate here. In my home state of Hawaii, we are facing severe workforce shortages, especially in healthcare and education. We don't have enough nurses or teachers. We don't have enough social workers or physical and occupational therapists. And these shortages are made worse by one of the highest costs of living in this country and the soaring cost of advanced education. Now, instead of helping find a solution, the Department of Education is putting up yet another barrier, capping federal loan access for graduate students simply because their programs aren't labeled professional. Here's what that means on the ground. In rural America, including Hawaii's neighbor islands, this isn't an abstract policy debate. This is real life. These are places where nurses are writing scripts so patients can get their medications, where therapists help heal people locally so they don't have to leave their hometowns or their islands for care, where social workers are often the only lifeline for families in crisis. When you limit educational pathways into these fields, when you make it harder or more expensive to become the professionals our communities rely on, need, this is not just about an inconvenience. It's a death sentence. As a co-chair of the Bipartisan Rural Health Caucus, I see the crisis up close. Nearly 70% of rural counties in America are designated health professional shortage areas. Hospitals and clinics across our country are struggling right now to hire the workers they need. And even when they do find them, too often they can't afford to keep them. So at a time when everybody in this country, in this building is talking about affordability, I have to ask, how does it make any sense to make higher education even more unaffordable? Because when you can't recruit professionals to heal and to teach, costs go up. Classrooms go unstaffed. Hospital beds close. Clinics shut their door. And suddenly basic care and education become unaffordable for everyone. That's why my colleagues and I introduced the LEAP Act, to ensure graduate students pursuing these critical careers have the same federal loan access as those in programs labeled professional. This is about meeting the real needs of our community and our economy. It's about strengthening the workforce pipeline, and it's about making sure students can complete their training and return home to serve the people who need them most. A big mahalo again to Representatives Kennedy and Figures for co-leading on this effort, and to everyone standing with us today in the fight. I strongly urge my colleagues on all sides of the aisle to join us in fixing this unfair, inhumane, harmful policy, because rural communities across this country, every town in America, can't afford to wait, and our people deserve better. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, co-lead on this bill, Representative Figures.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, too often in this administration, we've seen actions come down that leave the average everyday American asking the question, what about me? Whether it's tax breaks to the billionaires that leave everyone else who makes an average wage in this country saying, what about us? Or whether it's today where we see actions by this administration that prioritize doctors and lawyers' education while leaving teachers and nurses and occupational therapists and social workers saying, what about us? This bill fixes that. We see them. We see you. Educators hold a very special place in my heart. I think they should hold a special place in the policy positions that we take as a Congress, because none of us in any profession, in any job, would hold the position that they hold today without the help and the benefit and the expertise and the professionalism of educators. To tell teachers that your degree path is not worth the same degree, the same level of funding as a doctor or a lawyer is just flat out wrong. And we're here to correct that today. I stand here even as a lawyer, but I can tell you I would not be a lawyer without those educators, without those teachers. And we as society, we turn a blind eye, or a lot of us pretend a lot of problems don't exist. But social workers, they do. They see them. They deal with the ills of society that a lot of us don't have to see. And to tell them as members of Congress, that your career is not worth the same level of funding as certain other professions, it's bad policy. It's bad humanity. It's indecent. It's not what we should be doing. And so I will sit here today, as I do every day, and stand up for educators, stand up for social workers, stand up for nurses. I live in a district and represent a district that is one of the worst healthcare districts in America. We have nursing shortages, we have doctor shortages, we have hospital shortages and closures. And so to support a policy position that will only exacerbate those problems is not something that I can do. We need to be doing everything we can to support the creation of more nurses, the creation of more career paths in the healthcare field in general. We have to do this. I mean, this should not be a political issue. It should not be a partisan issue. This is an issue that is good for business. It is good for economy. It is good for the healthcare outcomes in all of our districts. It is something that we have to do. It is the right thing to do. And I want to thank Congressman Tim Kennedy for his leadership on this particular bill, as well as my other colleagues here for their support on it. We're going to stand up for the average everyday American. We're going to stand up for those professions that matter, because no one should be left in a position when it comes to funding their education where they have to ask the question, what about me? What about my career? And with that, I'll turn it back over to Congressman Kennedy for questions.
Next, we are going to hear from, thank you very much. I'm going to get my man a hat, but it's going to be a Buffalo Bills hat, just for the record. With that, I'm going to introduce our dear friend and wonderful leader with the DPCC, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. Thank you.
First, I want to thank my three colleagues, Congressman Kennedy, Congressman Takuto, and Congressman Figures, for helping to lead on this fight. For me, this is one of my #1 priorities in this Congress, and let me tell you why. Right now, this Department of Education policy, graduate students are being treated differently just because of the programs that they choose. And I know this from many different perspectives. Yes, I'm chair of DPCC, but because of some life experiences, I co-chair both the Disability Caucus and the Caregiving Caucus. And we are fighting for policies every single day that help families. And we don't understand that we have caregiving, nursing, occupational therapists, healthcare crises in more ways than anybody can imagine. We need people to help everyday people with basic needs. If you've got people that you trust, all other work is possible when those you love are taken care of. And yet we already have a shortage, and now we are making it harder for people to go into fields we need. I love doctors, we need doctors, but it is the nurses, it is the physician's assistants, the PT, the physical therapists, the occupational therapists, the home health aides that are the ones that are taking care of those that we love. And I represent a large school which not only has all of the healthcare positions we've talked about this morning, but the accounting schools, the architecture schools, and all of these students are like, we don't count. The stigma that we are saying you're a professional and you're not, we cannot get along without these professions. We cannot exist without these people. We need to celebrate them, lift them up, help them get the education that they need, not send a message, you're not professional, and not help them get the education that they need. This needs to be something we all work on. This country needs it desperately, and I thank you all, and we are part of the army that is going to get this done because too many people need us.
Thank you very much. With that, our next speaker, again, no stranger to a little chilly weather, from Michigan, Representative Tlaib. Yeah, this is like spring.
This feels amazing, actually. Thank you so much to Representative Kennedy. I cannot tell you how many calls I got. I did not realize I had a lot of friends who were nurses and teachers, and they reached out. And again, I'm really proud to support the introduction of the LEAP Act to fix this harmful and deeply unfair and unjust policy imposed by the Trump administration. This bill is about respect for people who keep our communities running, including our nurses, our physical therapists, social workers, are just the heart of our community, educators, and accountants. The Trump administration, their ongoing goal to dismantle the Department of Education, decided to redefine professional degrees and strip students of access to loans that they previously eligible for. As a result, we know these students no longer qualify for higher loan limits, meaning graduate education will be less affordable and less accessible. It's also forcing students to rely on predatory private loans. This is already a chronic issue in our communities, and it's going to drive them deeper into debt. So thank you so much again to Representative Kennedy for his incredible leadership here. Not only that, in regards to deeper debt, but the decision has been a slap in the face to reputation of these programs. That's been the hardest part, is hearing the hurt that they have, that their own government is now denying them again access and saying somehow that their degrees are not, quote, professional or worthy. These are not luxury or unprofessional degrees. These are crucial professionals that our communities rely on. Nurses keep our families healthy. You know, my niece is a nurse, and she continues to say how incredibly hard and difficult this job is, especially in our broken healthcare system. Educators help our students learn, and we already know our teachers are not getting paid enough across our nation. Social workers allow our communities to thrive, and social workers right now, there's not direct funding for many of these nonprofit or community-based organizations to fund some of that social work that's critical, again, for our families. So we should support and uplift students pursuing degrees in healthcare and other essential fields that are already facing severe workforce shortages, and that's something that I think many of us understand. There are shortages in the nursing field, as well as social work and educators. This is why, again, I'm proud to support the LEAP Act, and we know it will restore universal and very equitable student loan caps for all graduate students, regardless of their program. We will not let political attacks on education dictate the future of our students, and we will continue to fight for fairness for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Next, representing the American Federation of Teachers and the New York State Public Employees Federation, Amy Pachok, a mother, a surgical trauma neurosurgical ICU nurse, a college professor in adult health, along with serving as the PEF Statewide Nurses Committee Chair, and so much more. Amy.
Oh, wow, thanks.
Thank you.
Did a good job. Hi, my name is Amy Lee Patchogue, and he did a really good job introducing me. I'm a little shocked. So I've been a surgical trauma critical care nurse at Stony Brook University Hospital for a little less than 20 years. I've taught students bedside. I'm an executive board member, the statewide nurses chair, and I represent the American Federation of Teachers, our international union, in the Program and Policy Council. The Education Department's definition of professional degrees not only disrespects the commitment of our professions, but it also disrespects the American dream. This definition defers the American dream and fundamentally disrespects the vital work of nurses and our fellow colleagues, physician's assistants, physical therapists, audiologists, social workers, occupational therapists, and educators. We have dedicated our lives to the service of helping people. No one has ever stopped me from doing CPR to ask me if I'm a professional. The profession that I am in and those that I represent are professions of dignity and integrity. We help with welcoming new life, maintaining life, and resuscitating people back to life. We help with honoring those that are dying and who have passed in our care. We honor and serve people when they are their most vulnerable. The work we do isn't glamorous. We come home with aching feet and a broken heart from time to time. Our work is hard, often invisible, but it keeps civilization as we know it running. 5 short years ago, we were called heroes during COVID, and our dignity and integrity were honored. This dismissiveness of our professions and the financial loan limitations will have dangerous and disastrous effects on nurses, physical therapists, physician assistants, audiologists, social workers, occupational therapists, and educators. In nursing and most professions, the loan cap will limit accessibility and the ability for people to get advanced degrees. Why is this important? The professions with advanced degrees teach, train, and mentor the undergraduates. These advanced degrees are the lifeline to our professions. These professionals with advanced degrees also are the people who serve and work in rural and underserved communities. These healthcare professionals are essential providers and sometimes are the only healthcare professional in their community. This decision by the Department of Education defers the American dream and makes the affordability crisis worse and access to healthcare worse. We know that the skyrocketing costs of higher education must be addressed, but not on the backs of healthcare professionals who do the silent work of this country. This administration should create pathways to high-quality service careers, not financial burdens and limitations that harm students, institutions, and the public at large. This decision to defer the American dreams makes degrees less affordable as it pushes students into taking high-interest loans from private providers. It is not a coincidence that the same administration that introduced the proposal is the same administration that is pushing for the 50-year mortgage and the 15-year car loan, denying inflation and destroying the American dream by making life unaffordable. This is just another policy choice that puts profits over people. Healthcare professionals put people over profits. Stop deferring the American dream of nurses, physical therapists, physician assistants, audiologists, social workers, occupational therapists, and educators. Honor our service to the American people with this legislation. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Absolutely wonderful Amy. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to hear representing the American Occupational Therapy Association, Abe Saffer. Abe? Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Abe Saffer, and I lead education and workforce policy for the American Occupational Therapy Association. On behalf of AOTA, which represents nearly 250,000 occupational therapy practitioners and students, I want to thank Congressman Tim Kennedy for his leadership and partnership. As the only occupational therapist serving in Congress, Congressman Kennedy understands something fundamental. Strengthening the healthcare workforce starts with protecting the education pipeline. That's exactly what the LEAP Act does. It ensures future students are not forced to choose between an essential healthcare career they're passionate about but can't afford to invest in without federal support, and one that offers federal aid but is not the right fit. At a time of a severe healthcare workforce shortages, limiting students' abilities to enter healthcare professions simply makes no sense. When we have fewer health professionals, communities feel it. Schools, hospitals, and clinics are short-staffed. Families and patients wait longer for care. Federal policy should not be picking winners and losers among healthcare professions. Occupational therapy is one of the many essential professions affected by this policy. OT practitioners use everyday activities, what we call occupations, to promote health and well-being and help people fully participate in daily life in their communities. Like many healthcare professions, occupational therapy requires rigorous graduate education that makes working while enrolled impossible. Capping federal loan access does not reduce costs. It pushes students into private loans or out of programs entirely, locking far too many qualified students, especially those in rural communities, out of critical healthcare careers. This is why AOTA supports the LEAP Act. It is why we founded and lead the Alliance for Healthcare Access and Workforce Development, and it is why we urge Congress to pass this legislation quickly. If we want a stronger healthcare system tomorrow, we must invest in the students today. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So with that, I just want to thank once again the co-leads on this legislation with me, Representatives Takuda and Figures, for her continued leadership, Representative Tlaib, and of course her leadership with DPCC and the caucus, Representative Dingle, and all of the organizations that have joined us here today. We recognize that our healthcare professionals are just that. They're professional, but they're also our heroes in this country. And we depend upon them to serve our families, our neighbors, our communities when we get sick. And they ought to be treated like the professionals that they're aspiring to be as their students trying to serve the people of this great nation. This legislation, the LEAP Act, will fix the problem that the congressional Republicans created in the big ugly bill. With that, I'll open it up to any questions you may have. All right. Thank you all again for joining us here today. Thank you, Joe.